All right, we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Tuesday Night Movie Night with me and my buddy Luke here, Galliardo. Thanks so much for joining us. We're really excited to talk about Dr. Sleep, which was actually a big sleeper itself. It's a somewhat newer Shining sequel that came out that really nobody's talking about. Back when it released, it did not create much of a stir, and it's a little disappointing because this film has a lot of merit, although it makes some strange decisions kind of sporadically throughout the movie from start to finish. It hits home in a lot of different ways. So I think if you haven't seen it yet, we're going to set the scene for you. We're going to just give our basic reactions. We're going to try not to spoil too much, but we're going to get into it though. So I hope maybe by the end we can either encourage you to watch the film yourself or maybe dissuade you, because I don't really want to tell you if this is worth watching yet or not, because that ruins the suspense, of course. But Luke, first off, before we get started talking about the movie, just be brief. How did you feel watching it again? Because it's been a while since you've seen it, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a great movie. Definitely read the book. You'll have a completely different view of it. You can just watch it. I mean, if you don't know what The Shining is, that's fine. You'll it's a whole different plot, in my opinion. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Yeah, I think you really don't even need to watch The Shining to see this. Even though it's a
No,
Shining sequel, it's
whole
a
different plot.
standalone film of its own merit, and it's almost hard to believe that this is like the same universe as The Shining, because these two films are just starkly different, but they're both great in different ways. Definitely goes down some really weird avenues. This one does. In case you didn't watch our last live stream, we talked about The Shining last week, and Luke and I have been patiently waiting to talk about Doctor Sleep. I feel like he mentioned that he wanted to talk about these two movies 2 weeks ago when we finished watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And at that time, I was mostly interested in watching Doctor Sleep again. I remember when I saw this movie in theaters, I saw it back in 2019, and I was a lot younger back then. And I went and I saw it with my buddy Dom, and it was really one of the first like intense rated R horror films I've ever seen in a theater. And it was a freaky experience. I mean, now, Luke, that the movie goes pretty far in some elements, and it gets disturbing really fast,
Absolutely.
which horror doesn't even capture very much. And I'm not a big fan of it, but you know what? You see, like the villains in this film are so utterly evil that you are just cheering every single time that they meet their demise. It is awesome. But before I talk about Dr. Sleep, let me just recap you on The Shining, because if you haven't seen The Shining yet, it features Jack Nicholson playing Jack Torrance. He goes on this weird family trip to the Overlook Hotel. This is back in 1980, and at this beautiful hotel, he's the keeper of the watch. He's watching over the hotel. He's making sure that it stays in ship shape, that no hoodlums get in there, nothing blows up, just keeps the place sane. Except it sounds like an easy job, right? I mean, you're just working in this beautiful hotel. They have just bountiful accommodations at their disposal, but the place is pretty haunted. Some freaky stuff happens, and Jack Torrance, he's sort of right from the beginning, he's on edge the whole time. He just slowly falls apart and becomes the absolute worst version of himself by the end of the movie, causes absolute mayhem, which sends him into complete madness. He ends up killing the head chef, who was a very kind friend to the family, and he nearly kills his wife and son. So wife Wendy Torrance and son Danny Torrance. Both of them escape. He ends up freezing to death outside. And the hotel just stays as is. Nothing really happens. And it's funny because we see the hotel again in this film. And it's weird. It's a weird detail that everything is exactly how it was before. So I guess this hotel was sort of frozen in time for, what was it, 39 years. That's a long time. You think somebody would want to go back and check that out. Definitely, you would think there would be some sort of investigation too, because the head chef was dead and his body was in there. So you'd think that the Torrance family, the leftovers, Wendy and Dan, would send some sort of aid back to the hotel to at least collect the guy's body. His body wasn't there in this movie, but still, I don't think this place, it would have been condemned. It was not condemned. It was pretty much open season once they got there. But this movie takes place 39 years later, and we are now following the small boy, the red rum boy with Tony. He is now the main character, played by Ewan McGregor. Oh my gosh, Ewan is phenomenal in this. I mean, I think for as much hate as he gets for Kenobi, which I don't blame him for, but the story was just terrible. He was amazing in, like, as an actor in Kenobi. He was like truly just awesome in this movie. He really steals the show, and if it wasn't him, this movie wouldn't work. I mean, he was really the only positive element of Kenobi, too, unfortunately. But he plays a jaded, scarred, neglected Dan Torrance. I mean, 39 years later, that's a long time. And what happened back in The Shining really screwed him up. Really screwed him up. So he's dealing with a lot of trauma from that. And he's fallen into alcoholism, serious alcoholism. And he is just getting himself into unbelievable trouble. He has no purpose in life. He's just trudging along until he meets a new friend named Billy. He's been through equally a hard life, hard knock life. And he shows him a more positive direction. He takes him in, he gives them this new place to rent out, and he becomes like a maintenance guy at the hospital, or the hospice, which is like, a care center for elderly people that are dying. And through this experience, he's always kind of neglected his shine ever since The Shining, saw the collapse of his life and his family. But he starts to rekindle his love and his motivation to shine through his experience in this hospice care unit. He starts becoming Dr. Sleep, as these patients called him, because he would come in, he would settle their pains and their worries before they died. He always knew when someone was about to pass away. And that was one of the most powerful elements of the whole film. I loved seeing that. Definitely want to talk about that more later. But the story really starts to pick up further along when he begins to receive some sort of messages from across the world. He has this big chalkboard in his room, and it begins to fashion the writings, just random writings, childish lettering. Hello, hello, how are you? And he just has small talk with his chalkboard for a while. And then over time, they start to get to know each other a little better. And then out of nowhere, red rum appears, and it's pretty expertly done. I want to talk about that later. It's pretty expertly portrayed in this. It doesn't feel kitschy at all. It's not forced. But at that point, he realizes, whoa, shit just hit the fan. And he seeks her out further to figure out what's going on. It turns out this little girl, this is the person he's like shining with from across the world. Her name is Abra. She has this shine unlike anything that's ever been seen in like the Shining universe. Just absolutely insane, bonkers numbers. And this power is going to get her into some serious trouble. So, not initially uninterested in finding himself in peril and wanting to put himself in a life or death situation, he hesitates to help her out. But that old friend that he remembers, the head chef, remember him from before, Dick? He is sort of like an old Ben kind of character in this, like a ghost Obi-Wan, where he's like the silent mentor that appears when he needs him. And he tells him that there are some really, really evil people out there. There's this cult led by Rebecca Ferguson's character. Her name's Rose the Hat. She always has the top hat on. And they are preying on young shiners. And they are truly some of the most evil villains I've ever seen in any film whatsoever. We're going to talk about that later, because for me, I don't know how it's even matched. But once he's made aware of this, these really evil people start to just get closer and closer to reaching this poor little girl. And he has to step up and go on an insane journey to save her. And along the way, shit just hits the fan. And you don't see a lot of this coming. It's very clever the way they break this apart. But this is maybe, there's a lot of elements to this that we definitely need to talk about. But Luke, why don't we start with something that's kind of off-putting about the movie, which is the tone. Because wouldn't you agree that this film, it doesn't feel anything like The Shining whatsoever?
No, no, it's. I mean, it's completely different. There's none of this. None of this was talked about in The Shining at all, because they did say that the building was instead of the people, it was the building instead. I mean, I don't really know what that meant too much, but no, I very gross and disgusting. This movie definitely had some blowback. Um, by endangering children in a gruesome way. Like I don't if it wasn't talked about and like almost overturned and the movie shut down. I mean that would shock me because that was crazy that they could have got away get away with filming that.
Yeah,
And because yeah, but anyway, that's nothing like The
we'll get to
Shining.
that. Yeah.
It's nothing like The Shining. It's completely different.
Well, I think it's weird. So, like, a big fault that people have with this movie is that it kind of explains too much, and that it's like all the exciting mysteries of The Shining are now revealed, and it's like, oh, this is way more sci-fi fantasy than I thought it would be. And these are kind of questions I don't know if people wanted to have answered. We also like Danny Torrance, as well as this Afra character. They we see an extensive reveal of what their shine can make them do, because these guys are like pretty much super powered at this point. I mean, it's beyond just like telekinetic communication. They see dead people. They're able to communicate with dead people. They're also, something odd is Dan Torrance, his character. He's learned to cope with the demons that appear in his life, because something fun about this, we jump through kind of his whole life, from child to adulthood, and it just kind of happens sporadically throughout the whole movie. And even as a little kid, he would see these evil, horrible spirits just all over the place. They would just infest his space. They didn't leave him alone. And he, by the mentorship of Dick, the head chef, who is now, like I said, sort of the old Ben mentor to him, he has found a way to lock them up in like a vault in his head, which is like an interesting concept. And it looked a little silly on the big screen, but he had these coffins in his head, and he would, I don't know how he would do it. He would just somehow trap them in there, so then they would never escape. Which by the end of the film, we see that used more as a weapon, which is cool. But other than that, I think other powers. Do you think, what else were they able to do, Luke? I feel like there was one more thing that these guys. Oh yeah. Well, okay. So we see the shine explored on from Dan Torrance, from Afra, and then from Rebecca Ferguson's character and these cultist people. These guys, they are a really strange, villainous group of weirdos. It's like a misfits club. And it
Yes.
turns out this group, this band of weirdos, they have been alive a long time, hundreds, if not, well, let's see. Gosh, the oldest guy dated back to the Roman Empire. You know when that was? I mean, that was obviously, that couldn't
When
have
was
been.
that? When was that? Because that was one of my
Oh
questions.
yeah,
Was
yeah, the
how
old guy.
long? How
He
long have they been around?
the oldest guy, Rebecca
Roman
Ferguson
Empire.
character, she revealed that he lived back when back during the Roman times. That's what she said while he was
Oh,
passing
a
away. Yeah,
long
it was
time.
freaky. So look up when that was, because I'm curious, because it's super old. And you're probably wondering, how could these just, these random people, how on earth could they possibly live this long? Because they're not like super powered. Well, it's not exactly revealed
Wow.
if they have a shine themselves. I think they do, because when he dies, he exudes this like shine stuff that they like. But they're able to stay alive for so long because they harvest like the shining essence from children that have the shine. And it shows you, it features just how evil these people are, because they
Wow.
seek out these poor little victims, and they harvest their shine, and they do that through really awful ways.
510 BC.
Oh wait, 510 BC. Look at that.
And
Over two.
is Gutter Boy Tyler?
That's Ty. His
Yeah,
name's
because
not Tyler.
he said, or Ty, sorry, Ty, sorry, Ty. He said that he was a Crimson King.
What does that mean?
Uh, he was the Crimson. I don't know. It says the period of the kings was 625 to 510 BC. So
Dang,
I'm
that's
guessing that.
insane. Yeah, that shows you that that old guy sucked a lot of shine out of people. But these guys are absolutely insane. They harvest the shine from poor innocent victims around the world, and they live for a really long time. But they also have we see them, especially Rebecca Ferguson's character, showcase this super weird power where she's able to seek out and like kind of traverse the entire planet looking for other shiners, people that have this shining gift. I don't know how she's able to like sense that, but she in particular has a heightened sense for other shiners. And we also see Afra's character, who also has the shine. She is able to kind of take over other people's bodies. She takes over Rebecca Ferguson's body at one point, and then Dan Torrance also takes over her body at one point. So this is another strange ability that comes from this. So a lot of this sort of like hints that this is more of a sci-fi. It really felt like more of a sci-fi. And I don't know, this is sort of a weird correlation, but I was thinking about you wouldn't really know, Luke, but with Star Wars, you have the original cut, right? And it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the updated versions, which added new CGI characters, maybe a little bit of extended scenes, some few minor changes. This movie kind of felt like it was the um like the edited version of The Shining, where it just gave you the extra like silly fun little bits that didn't really need to be there, but nevertheless it was still interesting, and it still, for me, it worked. But Luke, since we brought up the cultists, I think maybe let's talk about them a little bit, because like you said, you were surprised that they were able to get away with what they did in here. Could you maybe explain that a little further
No, I
in a
mean, like,
sensible fashion so we don't get, demonetized?
no, I mean, in real life, like in general, like, I mean, just having it on screen and on the big screen, just doing that to children, that is awful. I mean, they're being creepy first off, and then they do that. I
Yeah.
mean, that was, I mean, that the baseball kid, that was over the top. That was insane. That was
Yeah.
torture. That was torture to a child. That was insane. They had they had some balls for that one. That was a crazy scene. Evil cultists that really showed the true colors of these cultists and these the shiners, and what they really wanted, what they were willing to do. They were not all talk. They were all do. It was
Oh yeah.
quite
No,
crazy.
they were not all talk at all. Here, sorry, I'm trying to find a good picture. Dang it.
I hated that.
I
Don't even
don't
start that one.
No, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. I'm trying to find a better I'm having a hard I didn't name anything, so I gotta just pull these up. Um
Ty's right. That ruined the nostalgia of the whole Shining.
Ruin the nostalgia. He thought it ruined the nostalgia.
Oh, showing those.
Oh, there you go. There it is. Yeah.
Oh man.
There's the poor kid. Like these cultists, let me see if I have a picture here, because these cultists, they are like awful. They are terrible. But they are set up as really, really awful villains that you don't want to see good things happen to. And I think, you know, in a film, it's kind of refreshing to see a villain that's bad. You know what I mean? Like, these villains have no good in them at all. They were bad villains. And it's not like, so many movies, oh, you kind of cheer on the villain. Oh, maybe they're not thinking right. Oh, it's like, no, that is not the case here. They are the absolute worst. And it was really, really hard to watch. But like I said, that sort of invites scenes for redemption, and scenes where you can cheer on the good guys for putting them at an end. Because my favorite scene for the entire movie is this shooting scene when
Great.
they bait the cultists into the forest. It is absolutely insane. Let me see if I could get a picture of it here.
That was beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. That was awesome. Let me see here. I'm having a hard time finding a picture.
I mean, it really showed how easy it was to get rid of them, but at the same time, it wasn't.
No, no. Well, I think we'll talk about that later. Why don't we mention something interesting? So we have Ewan McGregor. He plays an older Dan Torrance in this, and you know, while looking at him, it's hard to like. It's hard to tie him to that character we saw, 39 years ago as a little boy. It's sort of like clearly a person that's that much older isn't really anything like that like 5-year-old version of yourself. But did you kind of could you see him as a convincing Dan Torrance at all, Luke?
No, no. I mean, well,
No, not at
technically,
all.
47 years later, but
Is it?
because
Well,
I
this
went
was 2019 and
yeah,
then
but I went
Shining
8 years
came out in
later,
80.
but yeah, that's and yeah, in real life, yeah, but no, no, not at all. It was awful. Bad casting, in my opinion. He was
What? You're
great act,
tripping balls. What?
great actor,
Oh, you
great
suck,
acting.
man.
I mean, he bowl cut and everything, different hairstyle. I mean, he doesn't even act like. Granted, the kid was like 5 or 6, but I don't know. That's just me. I mean, I'm just kind of petty about the differences of the two movies.
Man.
When it comes to the characters, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of his glow up.
Oh, wait. What? Ewan McGregor's glow up? Oh, you didn't like him shaving and all that?
No, no, not that. I just didn't like. It was just too hard to compare, and
Mm.
and it didn't really help that they used completely different actors for the flashbacks. But that's a whole different combo right there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Well, that's sad. I thought you would have liked him.
I love him. I
He
like
was
him.
great.
I like him, but you can't see him as Danny. You know,
Yeah, I
it's hard.
guess. I don't know. I think you could. It's hard. I don't know. That's a tough one. It's like I don't know who could possibly portray the character. I mean, like you were probably nothing. You're nothing right now, like your 5-year-old version of yourself.
No, the Gord King's right. Yeah, you shouldn't have to keep a bowl cut from 5 years old to 40ish.
Gosh, come
No,
on, Luke.
I'm talking about like probably his inner self. Like he doesn't seem as affected of his past as like I know he was consumed with alcohol and everything, but he didn't really talk
Mhm.
about Toby too much or Tony too much.
Well, I mean,
Huge part of his life.
in this movie, he revealed that Tony was actually just the Shining itself, that it wasn't like one
Oh yeah,
particular
yeah.
person.
Never mind.
So that was an interesting discovery here that Tony, his like finger moving or whatever, I am Tony. He I guess that was sort of like he was just kind of hearing voices across the map with his Shining. So that's kind of interesting. We still didn't really we didn't really get a clear understanding of if that was like one singular person, if it was just random voices from around the world. Because I mean, The Shining can mean a lot now, and this movie definitely explores just how crazy The Shining really is. It's not as simple as telecommunication, which it doesn't really bother me. I liked seeing it explored, and you see this young girl on the right side of Ewan McGregor here. Her name is Afra, I believe. Is it Afra or is it like Abra? Oh, I think it's Abra.
Abra. It's Abra.
Abra. You know what? She did a great job in this. A young actress.
I agree.
She was no girl boss here. She was really well written, very interesting, and she was cold. She was cold. She was being preyed by Rebecca Ferguson there in the corner and all those cultists. And, she was very freaked out by the whole situation. But, she also kind of owned what was happening. And she had a lot of respect and admiration for Uncle Dan, which is what she called Dan Torrance. He was, he was a guiding light in her life. He understood her. He understood her problems because, he lived through them at her age. And he's also been, the prey of true evil before. So he's been a guiding light that she desperately needed in her life because her family didn't believe her, or they didn't want to believe that she had this extraordinary power, and she was sort of actively suppressing it. But Dan Torrance, he brings the brighter side out of her life, even despite all of the evils that she goes through in this. So that was nice to see. And her relationship with him, it was a very touching very touching, authentic relationship. They had great chemistry. I don't think it was forced at all. And when I was watching this, I was thinking, because obviously this is an older Ewan McGregor. This was not long before Kenobi came out the show. You're probably not familiar with the Kenobi series, are you, Luke?
No, I saw the clips with Vader and everything.
Yeah,
Never
well,
watched it.
most of it was pretty ridiculous. Like everything that happened around him was ridiculous. I thought Ewan was amazing in the show, despite how terrible the series was. He was absolutely phenomenal. If he was not in it, it'd be a zero, an absolute zero. He really lifted it up a few points, but they ended up bastardizing him. Sort of, they cucked him hard, but I felt like his relationship he had with this younger girl here is what we should have seen in the Kenobi series with him and Leia. She, in both circumstances, the young child needed a mentor and needed a protector because they were both thrown into a world of peril and evil, and it was a manhunt against them. In the Kenobi series, Leia was a belligerent delinquent. She ran away from him. She never listened to him. She had no respect for him. And she ended up getting them both into just extensive trouble that could have really went far south. And, he ended up paying for it quite a few times. And in this, it's sort of the opposite, She requests his help and he joins her and they work together and they use their strength together. And she understands that she's outside of her element here. So she shows him the respect that he deserves for having all this experience. And in the end, it sort of works out the way it's supposed to. But I really wish we would have seen an idea like this explored further in the Kenobi series, because with this sort of respect and this great chemistry and authenticity that we saw between these two characters, you grow to love both of them. This little girl, she was amazing. You couldn't help but to love her character. And it's so sad that they did that with Leia and also Reva, because she was also supposed to be a redemptive character that, nobody ends up caring about anyway. She's very forgettable. So it's a shame they didn't follow a similar suit here, because this film, this really, it set a precedent. And something that I don't think I've mentioned here is that, Luke, you could probably attest to this, that of course nowadays Hollywood is in mad sequel territory. All they want to do is make sequels and remakes. I am absolutely sick of it. It makes me sick to my stomach. It's truly disappointing to see just how creative, lackluster, how lacklusterly creative the creatives are nowadays. There's no good ideas, and to see, especially remakes really make me mad. If you're gonna make a sequel, that's bad enough, but a remake, absolutely not. And they just keep coming and they just keep making tons of money. This movie, I believe, is a respectable sequel, and it's based off of, text material, really well thought out novelization, right? So that's probably why it works much better. They have a template to work from. It's not some silly creator's own ridiculous thoughts and their own agendas that they want to shove into the story. This was based off of, a respected book. So I think it works well for this. But do you think as a sequel, this film worked at all, Luke?
I was just gonna say it's only because Stephen King also wrote Doctor Sleep that I enjoy as a sequel. If he didn't, and some random creator just created Doctor Sleep, I'd be like, come on, you should have just left the movie alone. You kind of just ruined part of it for me.
That's a good point.
No, I like Stephen King, so I respect it.
I haven't, we were talking about in the last stream, I haven't seen many Stephen King films, and I haven't read any of the books because that's just not my thing. But I'm definitely curious. Like our friend Ty here in the chat, he's read Doctor Sleep, and he says that it's missing a lot from like the book. That there's a lot of loose ends here that aren't connected, and it sounded like it explored more of Jack Torrance's past in the book, which is interesting. We don't really see that explored very far here, but I didn't mind focusing on Ewan McGregor's character in here. Right from the beginning, he's just such a rich character that you can feel for. He's just in the gutter in the very beginning, and he And it makes sense that he is because he's lived a really traumatizing life ever since what happened to him as a child. I mean, as we see, just unfortunately through real life scenarios that terrible things that happen to you as a young person make a big difference in your life, and it scars you and it changes how you would have been if it didn't happen. So I think this film explores that pretty well, and he ends up clinging to alcoholism because that's like the only connection that he has with his dad, because that was who his dad was. He was an alcoholic and he was a mean drunk. And that's sort of how he felt like his dad, was when he embraced that. But he also equally felt like his father in this when he seeked out AA meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous, and grew through that system because he knew that his dad wanted to get better, although it didn't end up happening. And once he reached the 5-month mark in this, it was very emotional for him. So I don't know. I think as a sequel, I don't know if this works as a sequel. To consider it as a sequel is so different than just considering it as like another movie within the universe. So I don't know.
It's like another movie in the universe. I wouldn't consider it much of a sequel. I mean, granted, I'm not spoiling anything, but screen time of, some hotel is only probably 6 minutes to 7 minutes at best, maybe 10 minutes out of 2.5 hours. So, yeah, it's not. I mean, you're not missing anything from The Shining from watching Doctor Sleep.
Did you see this in theaters when it released?
No, I watched it. I watched it a couple years later.
A couple years later.
Yeah, 2021.
Why do you think, like, also people in the chat, if you want to tell us if you're familiar with this movie, I'm definitely curious. Why do you think this movie was why do you think it was sort of a sleeper? Why didn't it get the attention? Because I mean, this movie's a big deal, guys. Of course it is. I mean, it's a follow-up, a continuation of of the horror movie of all time, The Shining. I mean, what a huge deal. And this was like right at the beginning of the sequel madness. And this was really one of those sequel adaptations I think was done respectfully. And I don't think it's complete. I don't think it's complete hogwash. It was made with love, and it was made with real care to detail, and to expanding the story instead of just calling back on the old movie. You might be thinking like, oh great, here we are with the Overlook Hotel again. Oh great, now some of the old characters are coming back in ghost form or whatever. It's like, great, all these cameos. I'm so sick of cameos. But no, this movie, it doesn't I don't think it overboards that necessarily. We'll get to some of that later. But I felt like it was a genuine sequel, even though it wasn't exactly the same. What was the question I was getting at? I totally lost my lost track of what I was asking. Do you remember?
The doctor's.
Crap. I went on a tangent.
Oh yeah, why was it sleeping? Like why it was?
Oh yeah, why was it a sleeper? Yeah. So So what I was trying to say was, this is a big deal. Why on earth weren't more people talking about this? Because it's a big deal.
I believe, because I, for one, really can't remember it. Can't remember hearing about it in 2019. I may be wrong. I may have heard about it, but really, when I was told about it a couple years later, I kind of just watched it and I was like, "Oh, this is a sequel to The Shining. It's pretty cool." And I don't really remember watching all of it. I just remember watching the beginning, and yeah, it's very underrated now after watching it all the way through. Very, very underrated.
Yeah, I think I think underrated is a good word for it. I think it definitely deserves a watch through. Even if you
Yeah.
didn't like this first movie,
Yeah.
you really don't need to watch The Shining to enjoy this. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
psychological
think
horror and sci-fi. Shining, obviously psychological horror, and then Doctor Sleep, psychological sci-fi or whatever. It's crazy. It's pretty good.
yeah, to make like another like weird silly connection that just popped in my head, which just seems right, is like the first one is like A New Hope in the original trilogy, and then this is like episode 1. And I like episode 1. A lot of people are gonna hate that, but I liked episode 1, and I like the prequels. but they're just starkly different, but it still adds to the flavor of the original concept. So yeah, it's disappointing to me that Doctor Sleep was a sleeper, but I'm kind of curious if people will revisit this, if this is something that they'll look into further. I don't know. I think Ewan McGregor, like as I was watching him play this character, he's had some weird roles and he's made a lot of weird choices in his tenure. That's for sure. But my gosh, he really stands out in this. And I think he's like, to me, like being reminded of watching this again, I remembered that he was like, he's one of my top like 5 actors right now that's still like working because my parents, they were watching Fargo, and there's a season with him as one of the main leads, and he's just phenomenal in that too. He's a tier actor, and it's really going to be sad once he leaves the scene in Hollywood because he just brings it every time. I mean, you can't help but to feel for him in this, and kind of almost like an inspirational character rising from the ashes and being a sacrificial role model. That's what he was in here, and I was I was definitely drawn towards his service work in the hospital too. Did you feel like did that touch you at all, Luke? Like it did me. Like when I
Bummed me
saw
out.
that
I didn't
teared me up.
I didn't expect him to be. I can't say anything, can I?
I don't know. I don't think that's spoiling anything.
Yeah, I can't. I did not accept him or expect him to be possessed and all of that. Why did it?
I'm talking about hospice.
Huh?
I'm talking about the hospice scene.
I'm talking about what I'm talking about.
That's a spoiler, man.
Yeah, never mind. Take it back.
Hospice,
I'm
man.
talking
Earlier,
I'm talking about hospice. Yes, I was talking about the.
that was
the
sad
incident.
too.
Why
What
did
you're
he?
talking
Why he
about.
sacrificed himself? Yes, I was talking about that.
We'll get to that maybe at the end of the stream, so that
Okay.
maybe
No,
people
I've
can
not.
tune off if they don't want to hear it. Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah. So like he plays this like normally it's kitschy when you hear like the actual title in the movie like released. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if that cringed you out. It didn't cringe me out because I thought it was relevant here because he was at first just like a night janitor maintenance guy for this hospice care unit, and he saw a very odd thing. He saw this lovely little cat wandering around, and the cat would show him the way to a patient who is about to die, and he would the first time he thought, okay, silly cat, don't leave the patient alone, or don't bother the patient, leave it alone. And he goes in, visits, and he has just really touching one-on-one conversations with these dying people who are worried about the afterlife and worried about what's going to happen next, and the fear of death itself and the endless void. What could it be in this film? They weren't sure, but he was a very comforting presence, and he was sort of like the Grim Reaper in a way, but like an elegant Grim Reaper.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, like
Grim
when you
Reaper.
saw him like next to the bed, did you kind of feel like that?
Yeah, like what did it do? Like do the patients hear Danny's voice talking to him, or is it just their conscience telling them it's okay? Like when he used his shining to.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I guess they heard it like in their head. I didn't think shiners could shine to people that didn't have the shine because like the patients could hear him in their head, but they didn't shine. So I don't think we've seen that. Have we seen that before? No, we have. We actually do see that in this movie because what's her name again? Afra. Abra. Okay. Abra, she sort of shines to her dad. At one point, remember, and she like reveals a bunch of thoughts. So I guess shiners
and
can.
he sees all the path, what happened and everything.
Yeah, so I guess shiners can do that to non-shiners, but I don't know. Let's take a quick break and let's get with the chat and see what you guys have to say. Thanks for talking to us, guys. Ooh, good evening, guys. Loving the new hair, Luke.
Jackson, you got some good hair.
So Proctophile, we love you, man. Yeah, I'd probably drink a lot too if I had to deal with that shit. That's for sure, man. Gosh. Yeah, wow. Yeah, your dad attempts to kill you and you watch him kill a friend in front of you. It's like, wow. Gord King. I don't know what those mean, but good stuff. If you think that's bad, just wait till you read Berserk. Oh, gosh. Yeah, no thanks. I do think this is bad enough. Hey guys, good watch tonight. I cannot ignore the lack of CGI for throwbacks. It really ruined it for me. Lost the feeling of nostalgia. Okay, yeah, so we'll wait to talk about that because that's a big topic, big controversial topic about the movie. But thanks, Ty. How can you learn to cope with this kind of childhood trauma? Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I guess in the movie and like Alcoholics
Yeah,
Anonymous, and just finding religion or whatever, that there's bigger things out there than the trauma that you go through. But geez, poor guy. It's really, isn't it inspiring to see that he was able to overcome that too?
just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, alcohol. That's what he did.
Gypsy shine suckers. Yeah, that's about right. I was curious. So like, yeah, the cultists, I actually, let me see if I can find a high res for a picture of them, because these the cultists, they're relevant from all different types of time periods, because some join the team at much later in life, and they all have like different fashions and such. I can't find a decent picture. All these pictures are so blurry. Yeah, I don't really have any good ones. But you see Rebecca Ferguson there. She's the best looking one, clearly. Everyone else is pretty ugly. But they all come from different periods of time, and it's kind of interesting to see their different styles. The old man was the Crimson King. Let that sink in. Yeah, he was old. Hee hee hee. All right. In the book, they go into this idea of the Crimson. Okay. So they explore the Crimson King in the book. The blood and the Red Room are connected to his reign of murder and power. Oh, the blood and the Red Room. Oh, that's weird. Huh. In the Roman Empire. Nice spelling. If they take it from an astronaut, then is it moonshine? It would be if they're on the moon. Only if they're on the moon, Gord King. How's it going, guys? I'm doing good. I didn't check how you were doing, Luke. Are you doing good?
I'm doing great. I'm doing
Good,
okay.
good. You feel like you had a satisfying movie night tonight?
Yeah, I had a lot of pizza. I did have 8 slices. I lied to them.
A pizza place we like down here where we're from is Cousin Vinny's. We like Cousin Vinny's pizza, and our dear friend Luke bought us some great pizzas tonight. So yeah,
Oh, that was
we
no,
enjoyed
that was
that.
Ethan.
That was good. Thanks, Ethan.
Yeah.
Despite the different, this is Brown Eyes of Mandalore, a friend of the channel. Despite the different tone in Doctor Sleep with the powers and such, was a nice addition since it kept a lot of Kubrick aversion but utilized King's book. Yeah, it was sort of, yeah, I think it paid respects to both sides of things, right? And it'd be interesting if Kubrick was still around to make this, right? Like, what would that look like? Someone mentioned, who said that? Jordan, our friend Jordan, who also does movie night with us, he mentioned how, like, because this is something I bring up pretty frequently, is how I wish we had like physical film back in movies, because the grain of physical film versus like digital film just adds, like, I don't know what it is. It just, I guess maybe it's not even retro, but it seems like it's more, it enriches the film to me, seeing a wear to it. I don't know what it is. I think it's like it looks so clean and real, and like Hallmark nowadays, everything is so clean that it's like it's almost not convincing that this is like a serious film about a dark subject like this. For me, it kind of takes me out. That's what's nice about watching the older films, though, right? Because we see a lot of the Grady images, so it's got that feeling. Every time I see that baseball kid scene, I'm always holding my breath. It's probably one of the most horrifying scenes in any movie that really hit, and not just a jump scare scene. Facts, big facts, Brown Eyes. Wouldn't you agree, Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're eating something.
Girl Scout
Wasn't
cookies.
pizza enough, Luke?
He's no, sorry, I'm having the sweet tooth right now.
Ooh, that looks good. Jealous. All right. Wait, different hairstyle? You're telling me Danny had to keep the same hairstyle as an adult? Yeah. Yeah, bowl cut to this. He looks much better now. I thought Ewan did a fantastic job. He's a man that's older, but carries the horror of his childhood, living a life of defeat, but later using that experience to overcome it. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he uses his trauma as a weapon against evil, which is pretty cool. Good call, Brown Eyes. Not gonna lie. Yes, Gord King. Not gonna lie, Rebecca Ferguson rocks that hat. She does, man. I loved her in that hat. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. Yeah, she pulls it off. Like I don't know how many people could pull off a top hat just casually. I wish I'd see that more often. There's many, many theories to the Kubrick Tony, some very, very dark ones. Check those out. But the King Tony was Danny from the future, shining to his past self. Wow, that's weird. I mean, if that was the case, I don't know why his future self wouldn't have. Well, maybe I guess the future self wouldn't have wanted him to possibly detract from what was going to happen in this film because an ultimate decision is made in the end, which changes the course of everything Shining. So, yeah, that's interesting. So, I guess the new film wouldn't cancel out that theory in any way. Yes, this movie is one of my favorites of Rebecca Ferguson. Oh yeah, man. She's awesome in this. I love her. She's a great villain. A lot of like very interesting and like gross, but also like really good looking too. Let's see. Brown Eyes of Mandalore. Ewan is great in whatever you put him in. Kenobi was still worthy of the Death Star trash compactor, though. Yeah. He was so good in that, man. We can't give Leia a mentor because that word starts with men, women tours only. Yeah, who was that? I guess it was that lady who dies. Was she sort of the mentor? I don't know. I don't even remember. I've vacuum sealed that. Yep, he's got it. Boo, Reva was a mistake. Yes. Let's see. Another odd performance of Ewan is the show A Gentleman in Moscow. It's weird because it's a really well done story with great acting from Ewan and his wife, but what kills it is that it's DEI galore. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Which really takes you out of so much of the story. Yeah, I feel like this movie too. I mean, like Dr. Sleep doesn't have any agendas. It's just a rich, real story that features characters that we can latch onto, like Ewan and Abras. And his friend is so cool in this. I love him, Billy. He's a highlight of the film too. That's curious because Stephen King hates Kubrick's version of The Shining. Yeah, that's sad. I don't know why he would. I think in an interview with King on Dr. Sleep movie, he tells how Kubrick's movie has grown on him. Okay, well that's good. The alcohol also repressed the shining ability, which pained him. Yeah, so another weird correlation to the Kenobi series is that he has sort of been Dan Torrance has been suppressing his shine ability, and it sounds like, according to Brownheis here too, that alcohol is also a repressant that lowers his shine, which explains why these evil cultists have never went out with him or went out for him, not went out with him, but. Yeah, kind of similar to Kenobi, like trying not to use the Force so he doesn't get caught. Here, trying not to use the shy, so I guess he's not trying to do it for a reason of getting caught or not, but I don't know. Still suppresses. A 7 out of 10. Come on, Gord King. Don't hurt me like that. I give it like an 8 point. Man, I give it 8 out of 10, man. I'm giving 8 out of 10. There's certain stuff that they shouldn't have had in here, though. I think those that have seen it like it, but it probably didn't get too much attention because it wasn't Kubrick, who really leaves his mark on his projects that can't be sequelized. Let's look at who made this one, because I think it was well done by whoever directed it. I saw that the director was also the person who wrote the screenplay. What's his name? Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan. Let's see. Have you heard his name?
Yeah, I've heard of that name.
What else has he done? Let's see what movies he's done. Director. Oh, he did Life of Chuck. Oh, I think it's a new movie coming out. Oh, he did Hush. Hush is good.
Hush. Oh, that might be it.
Is that the one you know? Let's see. He did Hush. He did Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass. Oh wow, he's done a lot of big ones here. Gerald's Game. Oh wow, yeah, he's done a lot of big ones. Actually, maybe not that many, but those are some big ones. VHS Beyond. I've heard something. I can't remember what that was, but that name sounds familiar. It's hard to sell a Shining sequel with such different title. Dr. Sleep doesn't exactly sound like a must-see movie. You're not wrong. I remember it's funny you bring that up because I remember that even like being released. Like this was Dr. Sleep back in the day. And I was like, first off, the main question is, what is that? And second of all, I was wondering, why is it called that? Like that's such a lame name for this movie. And I thought it was clever use of the title once you learned what it was, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it didn't really have much to do with the actual like subject matter. Okay, now I can focus on you guys. Who's winning? Well, you know what? We're not really debating so far. I don't think we've had any. Well, I guess we have. I don't know. You said something kind of against my thoughts earlier. I can't remember
Okay,
what it
I'll
was.
I'll let Jackson shut me down real quick. I think this movie was almost as good as the new Captain America movie. All right, Jackson,
Oh
get me. All
gosh.
right, Jackson wins. I lose. Boom. All right, Jackson
Oh.
won. See,
Oh
there you go.
my
There you
gosh.
go. I take that back. That was a joke.
Ugh.
Practifile. Jackson wins.
Luke,
I knew that comment would shut you down.
let's move on. I don't want to. All right. Oh no, Gord King. I enjoy the prequels, but I also think they're bad movies. Man, they're done with so much love. The universe is great. I think a lot of it really has to just blame on
I agree, Gord
Hayden's
King.
performance, really. Fargo season 3. Doesn't he play twin brothers? Yeah, there's two of them. And yeah, they're pretty different from one another. Oh gosh. Ewan's worst role is probably in Birds of Prey. I still haven't seen that. Another one of my favorite Ewan roles is Angels and Demons. He does a fantastic job. Train Spotting too. So iconic. No, I haven't heard of either of those. Have you seen those, Luke?
I have not.
Huh. Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about something that needs to be talked about. Let me pull up an image. I have to just kind of load a bunch of these pictures because they're not named. Oh, it won't let me. Give me 1 second,
The
guys.
Proctifile was just a joke. I was trying to give Jackson the automatic win.
Nice.
I'm getting hated on now. I know.
Reasonably so. You can't say that here, man. You cannot say that here. That is like, oh my gosh,
No,
saying this was as good as Captain America: Brave New World. Oh yeah, well, you just mentioned something. So there is a correlation to this movie and Captain America: Brave New World. Do you want to tell everybody what that is?
Hmm?
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
Isaiah.
Oh yeah. The guy who plays the head chef.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Come on,
Well,
Luke.
I didn't know you were gonna ask me that. Okay.
Oh, Luke.
So yes, the guy who plays Dick, the head chef from the Shiny movie, the mentor to Danny, he is recasted, obviously, as the guy who plays Isaiah Bradley. I don't know his real name. Probably should have looked up his name. But he plays
Nobody
Isaiah,
knows his name. It's okay.
he plays Isaiah Bradley in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I shouldn't have said the other name, but not the other movie. But yes, he's a great actor. That's the second movie I've seen him in, and I
He's
love him.
great in this.
He is great. He has a great method of acting. I like him.
Oh yeah. I'll give him credit for this role. He plays the deceased like ghost version of Dick, the head chef in this. And man, his dialogue hits hard. What's funny about this movie, which here, let me thank you, Brown Eyes, for your contribution. What's like interesting about this movie, which 95% of the time fails. The biggest problem with Dr. Sleep is these weird recasts. Clearly, Jack Nicholson is not coming back here, nor the actress who played Wendy, nor a 5-year-old version of the actor who played Danny Torrance when he was young. So we can't expect too much. They could do one of two things. Well, actually, they could do one of three things. One, they could recast the character, just have a new actor play them. 2, they can make a weird CGI version of them. And 3, they could just completely ignore them altogether. They chose to add these very strange additions as recasts. Right here, you probably can't even guess who this is. That's supposed to be Jack Nicholson right there. That's supposed to be Jack Nicholson's Jack Torrance. And he appears quite a few times in the movie. And they try to make it, more apparent that they try to confuse us into believing that that's him. I mean, look, we have a complete side profile of him at the bar here. It kind of works. I mean, does that look like him to you at all?
The hairstyle. I mean, if you black out the face, you're like, oh, it's Jack Nicholson. Oh no, it's not.
Like rewatching it again, I was looking at him and I'm like,
It was
is that
disappointing.
supposed to be him there? Is this a new dude? It was weird. And you get more of these scenes. You have the scenes with Wendy, which let me pull up.
Oh, that's even worse.
Well, actually, before I get into that, let's talk about this scene real quick. Because so what happens here is um we'll start getting into spoiler territory, but this is an older film, of course, so it's really not that big of a deal. But um towards the end of the movie, uh Dan Torrance and Abra, they're at the end of the line here. And Rebecca Ferguson's character, Rose, she is on the hunt chasing them. And she's at like her max strength. She's crazy. She's crazy powerful right now. And she like absorbed all this extra shine that she had that they've been storing up. So to take on these two. Dan thinks the best place to go is the Overlook Hotel because it has he's sort of like his trauma there gives him the most power. So he goes back there. He revisit this place, and it's like we said earlier, it's frozen in time. No one ever came back here. The place was not adjusted at all, and all the lights are still working. All the lights are still working. The water's still working. Everything's in pretty much working order, even though it's pretty trash on the outside. So that was odd. Makes you wonder if the building itself was some sort of like uh like ghost version because I mean it did not change at all. No cobwebs in here. Everything looked pretty normal. But he goes to the bar, he sits there, and then he starts talking. And this guy pours him a drink. And it's supposed to be like, I guess we're supposed to believe that was Jack, like right off the bat until he said it was. I don't know. But what's funny enough is this character here, the bartender, he refers to himself as Lloyd. He's like, no, don't call me dad. I'm Lloyd. I've always been Lloyd. I've always been here, the bartending. And then I was wondering, like, okay, so if he's Lloyd, because that's what he wants to be called, the last guy was Lloyd. When Jack Nicholson went to the bar the first time, he
Lloyd is
called
who
this
they
guy
get
Lloyd.
reincarnated to.
Huh?
Lloyd is the human figure that everyone is reincarnated into.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh. Well, I mean, that must be it because, like, yeah, this character is now called Lloyd. I was wondering who the first Lloyd even was because Jack Nicholson just called him that out of nowhere. He didn't really know the dude's name. I don't know how he would have known it, but I thought that was strange. How okay, now this guy's Lloyd, but maybe I think you might have hit it on the head there.
I'd like to think that. I mean, it makes sense if that were the case.
Something like because going down the route of recasting these characters, we see him again, which with Jack Torrance, it fails every time, really. His did not work at all. Wendy, hers wasn't too bad. The actress really didn't look anything like her. She sounded just like her and she acted just like her, but she didn't look anything like the original one. But something that was cool about Dick's character and Wendy was that we got to explore other sides of the story before even this time period, even before 39 years later after 1989. We see the pretty much the near immediate aftermath of The Shining when Dan and Wendy, when they move away, they decide they don't want to see snow ever again. They move to Florida, and we see their life in Florida for a little bit. And I thought it was interesting to see that. It didn't seem, it felt real, and it didn't bother me, even though it was unnecessary. It kind of worked. And his dialogue he had with Dick, the head chef, as like the ghost, it was interesting and it was good. It didn't seem like they were forcing cameos or forcing member berries from the original film. It felt real. And I wish that the new sequels that are coming out, I wish they would kind of adopt this where these legacy characters maybe had like a substantial role that really that further improves or develops other characters around them. That would be nice instead of just being member berry characters that you get excited for 5 seconds then immediately forget about. But I want to pull up a picture of Wendy Because out of these recasts, Luke, what do you think was the worst part of it for you? Like
Mindy.
Wendy. Oh, you thought it was her? You thought
Yeah.
she was the worst part?
Yeah, because she was all like lousy and like all like clumsy. It
Lousy.
just gave me, or not lousy, clumsy and dipsy, and it's like
That's
that.
her though.
Huh?
That's her. I mean, that's the character.
No, I know, but no, yeah, the character, but the recast, she didn't seem like that.
Hmm.
She didn't give me that vibe.
Yeah. 9149. Let me pull it up here.
Like the original character just gave me the
Here,
vibes
wait.
that
You
she was
talk
just.
about this, Luke. I'm gonna get some water real quick. So just give
Okay.
me a second.
Yeah, I just she seemed. I'm trying to think of a good word for it. She seemed way more sane. Like she had it all together. Like the first character from I don't know her real name from The Shining. She was all frightened all the time and scared of Jack or the. She just wasn't really that good. She didn't fit with her original character in the Shining film. But Jackson, can you hear me? No, he's not wearing a speaker. But and she doesn't really look like her. They did a really bad job at designing her new character.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. That does not scream Wendy.
See,
She's a good-looking lady, and she sounded like her, but I don't know. It just takes you. I don't know if you said this or not, Luke. I couldn't hear you, but sorry. I
yeah,
don't know if you were like talking to me.
Practify. That's where I was going with that.
You're
She's
talking to Proctophile. That's good.
yeah. She's lousy, clumsy, dipsy. What is
Oh, you're
Snow White?
mean.
Snow White and the dwarfs.
That's right. Very good. Very good. Here, let me pull up another picture. This is going to make the entire audience just laugh out loud. Look at this. Tell me, is this a joke or not? We laughed. Don't you remember all of us laughed out loud when we saw this? Where is it? Here you go. This
Yeah,
isn't the best picture, but he looked so silly. This new dude, it was not Jack Nicholson at all.
like I
Clearly.
was saying, Bryan Cranston did a better job than this guy. It was awful.
Why did they even put this scene in there?
It was embarrassing.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Wow.
If they showed him from the back, maybe. But
Yeah.
they,
Yeah, why
they
not why not do that? Here, let me pull up something here real quick. Give me 1 second. Sleep. Why don't we talk about I think that's pretty much all we can say about these recasts, right? I mean, Dick's was great. That sounds funny. Dick the head chef, his recast was great, surprisingly. Wendy's was terrible. His was the worst here. Why don't we talk about our favorite scenes from the movies now? Because there's a lot of standout scenes in here that, like this whole film, doesn't get very much credit. But Luke, why don't you start? What do you think was your favorite standout scene that sticks with you the most?
It should have been the bar scene. It should have been. I wish it was, because that would have been a huge throwback. And but like we said, that was not too good. But my favorite scene probably was him or Dan opening all of the doors at once to take down what's her name? The main
Oh
villain.
yeah, Rebecca
Yeah,
Ferguson,
he
Rose.
let go of the twins. He let go of the old lady in the shower. He let go of Jack Torrance.
Oh wait, here I have a picture of that. Let me pull that up.
He let go of. I didn't recognize some of them, but I noticed that Lloyd was one of them, or the guy.
Oh yeah, he looked good. Grady or
yeah.
Here, I think this is it. Yep, there you go.
There we go. Who were the guys in the tuxedo? Just random guys from the spirits.
We see this weird dude with his head split open. We saw him in the original.
Yeah.
The little girls is like those don't look anything like the original, but that doesn't really matter. No. And then you have the bald dude on the left. That looks just like Grady from The Shining. They did a good job with him.
Oh yeah. What about the guy with the hair?
I don't know. A fun new addition. That's all I gotta say about him.
I guess.
Yeah, then you get the gross old lady there. Okay. That was your favorite scene, huh?
Well, yeah, because it was like it kind of threw a lot back from The Shining, and it was just cool to see. I didn't like the part when he was possessed, like I was saying earlier.
You didn't?
No, because
It was kind of silly.
that led to his death big time.
That
Uh,
what?
it led to his death big time, and I, I don't think he should have, blown the whole place up. I mean,
Well, that's good. It did.
yeah, I mean, I guess, but it didn't really it just let the spirits outside. It didn't kill all the spirits. They're all still
Mm,
there. I
that's
mean,
a
you just
good
built, you
point.
just
Well, I guess
destroyed
it
them.
was a haven for a lot of it, right? I mean,
I do
maybe
have a
it's like,
question. How did she get there? How did that main villain get to the building? I missed something. I think I did. How did she get? Did she drive, or did she just like somehow fly or
I
use
think
her
she
powers?
drove. Yeah, that's
I
a
know
good
it's
point.
like a 7-hour drive from where they were. I think because they were in
7
Ohio.
hours.
Well, they were in Ohio.
Dang. Oof. Yeah, you're right. They were in Ohio. That was nice. Here, wait. I'm pulling up a picture of her. I don't know. She definitely drove. Well, we've also seen her. Well, so she's able to like do some weird like flying teleporting thing, but that's not like that's like her like it's like her consciousness. It's not like it's really it's not like she's actually like flying in the air or something like that. Here, I'll pull up a picture of her so everybody sees. Dang it. That doesn't work. How about this one? This should work. Dang it, man, none of these files are working. People might just have to use their own imagination. Or here, I'll try sharing screen. See if I'm getting any better at that. Share screen. Tell me if you can see this. Can you see this?
Yep.
Oh, good, great. Yeah, look at that. There she is. Yeah, she looks pretty good in this. Look at how happy. She looks like such a nice, normal person.
I
Nope.
know that really shocks you at the beginning.
Yep, not at all. Yeah, she's good though. Yeah, she's crazy evil though. She's bad news. She's a great villain. Really good female villain. Give her that. And look at that. Does the top hat not work? I love the top hat. The top hat's so much fun. It makes me want to invest in a top hat. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Let's see. I want to talk about my favorite scene now because I'm surprised this isn't your favorite scene. Let me pull it up.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, here we go, boys.
I like
It's
to
about
switch.
to get heated in here.
I did leave
So,
the room for this scene
oh,
briefly.
you
So
did?
yeah, that's when I got up to get a
Oh,
drink. But
man.
I was looking back and I saw it. I'm like, damn, all right, because I heard you guys
Oh, you
talking about
should
it.
not have left.
It was pretty good. I mean,
I should have paused.
it felt great. And
So when I saw, okay, as you are now aware, if you've been listening carefully enough, that these cultists are really evil. They're terrible. Right off the bat, you are well, actually not right off the bat. In the very beginning, you're not really sure who these guys are. They're mysterious, they're weird, and you don't see their horrible evils necessarily right up front. Then it slowly just unveils just how awful they are. And by the end of it, it's like you want these guys out of the picture immediately. Well, Dan Torrance and his friend Billy here. This is the nice guy that pretty much saved his life. He got him out of his alcoholism, and he's been a guiding light in his life. Awesome. This guy, he's also, I believe his name's Travis in Fear the Walking Dead. He was the dad in that, and he was a great character in that show, and he's awesome in this. It's sad we don't see him very much. He has a very unique look to him, but just an interesting appearance, interesting facial features. But him and Dan Torrance, they bait all of these evil cultists, and I'll tell you, it is. I believe this is the most exciting, maybe not exciting, but I believe this is the best, my favorite gunfight in anything I've ever seen because the build up to it is just absolutely insane. You cannot stand these evil people, and they catch them at right in the clutches of their max confidence. They lure the cultists there by bringing Abra. Abra's there. They have her as bait, and she fools them with her trickery, and then they start firing on them, and you just see these guys get picked off one by one. And I think it's like the filmography and the cinematography here, it captures this gunfight just beautifully. It's extremely satisfying to watch this happen and seeing these two characters just pick them off one by one. But it's a perilous fight. It's perilous, and something terrible happens by the end of it, which is really tragic. So I don't want to say what that is for when you guys go
Mhm.
watch it yourself.
Still hurt.
Oh yeah, that sucked. But you see, it's crazy. And when the cultists die, it shows you that they are literally like they are so evil that they're not like human anymore. They're actually like these like almost like demon like spirits or whatever that are like stuck in these human bodies because they just absolutely they kind of implode on themselves and become like a dust, a spirit, like ash. So it's a great scene. I love this scene. Like it's stuck with me ever since. I remember when I saw this in theaters. I believe I saw it in IMAX, weirdly enough, all that time ago. I saw it with my buddy Dom. Like I said, this is the first R-rated horror movie I've ever seen. It was just disgusting, sort of, what they did, those cultists. And when we got to this scene where there was like this crazy redemption here, like cleaning house, I was cheering. I was up out of my seat cheering for these guys because it was just so rewarding. And I I felt that same feeling watching it again, and that was a good feeling. That was sort of a unique feeling I haven't experienced in a theater since. So definitely worth checking out the movie, even just simply for this scene itself. But here, let's take a little break and talk with the chat a little more. I don't think we might have just a few more topics to talk about with the film, and then we might call it quits a little earlier today, everybody. Let's see, where can I find this? Where did we leave off? Oh, there we go. Uh, let's see. Don't skip out on Berserk. It's a classic for a reason. And if you can look past all the horrors, you'll find the most beautiful story I've ever read. Okay, so it's a book. Proctophile, I'm going to be honest. I'm just not interested in reading books. I think there's a lot of great stories to be had in books, but I barely even have enough time to watch these movies. And it's sad. Maybe when I'm old enough and I find myself in a place where I want to read. But thank you for the recommendation. If they make a movie for him, maybe. Do you read, Luke? Are you a reader?
Yeah.
You are? Oh, okay. Did you finish did you get any farther with The Shining reading
I
the
just
book?
got home. I just got home finally, and so I'll definitely continue that in the near future.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. I think you can get good images on IMDb. Okay, that's a good idea. Thanks, Brown Eyes. No doxing yourself, guys. You'd be amazed how little it takes to track down your locations. Yikes. Well, we didn't, so thanks for the warning, Proctophile. I totally agree. Real film looks so much better. Real film looks. Oh yeah, definitely, man. So, are you and Luke childhood friends? Yeah, we've known each
Since
other a
5
long
or
time.
6 years old.
Long time.
Yeah.
Good guess, TGV Monster. Yeah, it's weird we're doing this now. I never foresaw that in the
Yeah,
past.
it's great.
Sorry, Mr. Chat King. You guys didn't load in for some reason. That said, Riva sucks. Yeah, Riva does suck, man. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, to be clear, my 7 out of 10 and your 7 out of 10 probably mean different things. To me, a movie has to be great to get 8. I consider Doctor Sleep to be good, so it gets a 7. Okay, well, I think it's great. So I think we have the same ratings here. Not much for me turns me off on this movie. Not very much. I think they go a little too far with some of the evil stuff, and I don't like seeing that. I get what they're doing, but I don't like seeing that. And I don't like these recasts. And there's just maybe like one other weird scene. But otherwise, it's pretty good. There's like a weird scene with Rebecca Ferguson in the end. It's like, ew, no thanks. The new Captain America movie has a 3 out of 10. He's right, Luke. I think you and him need to have a serious talk about that.
I'm gonna lose.
He'll set you straight. He'll set you straight, Luke. Way to make me regret paying in full attention. Man, he's roasting you, bro. By the way, I saw Midsummer after the stream 2 weeks back. I'd say it. Oh my gosh, was that because people kept mentioning Midsummer? That'd be
Yeah.
interesting. By the way, I saw Midsummer after the stream 2 weeks back. I'd say it's an overlong movie with awful empty characters. There's no motivation and there's no real direction. I dislike Florence Pugh even more. I like hearing that, Brown Eyes, because I don't like her either. And I don't want to see her in anything else. I think she's kind of
Oh,
annoying.
because she's a Marvel character.
Here we go. Proctophile dogging on my shirt. By the way, is Brawler a ref or just a big fan of Beetlejuice? I know. I remember people grilling me in one of my videos when I wore this. I don't know. I guess I look like both. I did wear this in my Beetlejuice video. It's comfy. It's comfy and it's light. Hopefully the latter, Procto. Yeah. Beetle. Nope. I'm not saying it 3 times. I will take recast over CGI horrors like Star Wars, like to do that with characters. Yeah. You can kind of respect a recast to some extent, right? I mean, kind of takes balls to do that. I actually like the recast Jack. He's played by Elliot from ET. You know it's not going to be the OG cast. So once you know that, it makes it more believable. Yeah, it's funny cuz I see the at Comic Cons, I used to see that actor all the time, and it had the credit of him being in Doctor Sleep playing Jack Torrance, as well as the credit of being in ET. And it was just so hard to see that correlation. Like that kid is playing this dude. So weird. If the young girl had died, we'd have an abracadabra. Yes.
That's what I was thinking about.
Why didn't you say it, Luke?
Because
Why didn't you say it?
Because we were watching the movie.
Oh.
I don't want to interrupt the movie just to say something stupid.
Whoa.
Not that was stupid. It was irrelevant to the movie.
Are you making fun of Gord King? That's not very nice.
No, it's a funny
He
thing.
might have to debate you about Captain America for that one. Drinks on the house, orders from the top. The
Gord
use
King.
of the Deus Irae that they use as they drive up to the Overlook, using the same shots for The Shining, is so good. Hey, well, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to talk about real quick. One of the last topics was the callbacks. Because you're right, they did make quite a few callbacks to the original film. Did any like stick out for you, Luke? Like, let me tell you a few of them. So there was, as Ty mentioned earlier on, or somebody, it might have been you, that there's this weird meeting that he has with Dan Torrance has in the very beginning with the Alcoholics Anonymous mentor dude. And it's in this office, and it's the exact same office as the one that Jack Torrance met with the Overlook Hotel manager before. So that's cool. One. It was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, I don't understand the relevance here. Then, of course, we got the red rum again. When we had the red rum, let me pull it up. So in this picture, oh, here you go. Here's another one. There you go. So there's red rum. It's written in murder here. He has this cool chalkboard on the opposite side of his wall. And he like stumbles because this like his chalkboard like kind of like not explodes, but like breaks apart just out of nowhere. And he kind of flies back into the mirror here because he's looking in a mirror at this point, and he sees murder written backwards and it said red rum. And that was after that poor little baseball boy was dead. So it all happened pretty quickly. And I thought it was pretty clever. And that was sort of like a wake up call for him. Like, whoa, something serious is going on. I got to get my shine back on. So that was another callback we had. And then, of course, the hotel, like you said, who said that? Was that Proctophile that just told us? I don't know. Somebody, thank you, whoever said that, bringing that up with the car. Because, yes, we were told by one of our buddies who was also aware of it that the classic scene of, you know, the drive to the Overlook Hotel in the snow, it looks like they were driving like a similar vehicle, a 4-door sedan. I believe that's what he said. Ty said that, yeah. And driving all the way up there. It's like so many small things, and they're fun, you know, but I don't know. They're not really necessary. What did you think of them, Luke? Did they make an impact at all?
Not really. Just nostalgia of the opening for the original Shining, and they kind of redid that, just different climate change and everything.
But, what?
Yeah, it was all snowy and everything, and dark and everything.
Oh yeah, I guess it wasn't snowy and dark the first time. What was it?
It was nice and beautiful out. Beautiful Colorado, sunny and green.
What did you, real quick, because I want to hear your, I don't think I heard your take on this, kind of circling back to something we talked about earlier. What did you think of Abra's character? Did you think she was good? Do you think she was interesting?
Oh,
what did you think of her?
Badass. Yeah. She was she was cold. You used that word, you used cold. I used perfect. She did not play. She gave her what was coming every time. She did not stand down.
No. Yeah, I liked her character. I know that was a bit of a tangent, but I felt like really great character that just kind of came out of nowhere, so I wanted to mention her. Um, I think we're actually I think we'll finish up, guys. We'll answer a few more of these chats, and then we're going to head off and give our final thoughts about the movie. Thank you all for joining us. This has been a great stream so far. Where did we leave off?
We're almost done with comments.
I think we are. Thanks to everybody for talking to us. I like this. Yeah, she's too good looking to be Wendy. Yeah, a little bit, man. All right. Despite the ditziness of Wendy in the first movie, Shelley Duvall gets applause because she went through a lot with Kubrick's directing. Her screams and facial acting, at least, are great. Oh yeah, man, she was awesome. Of course, yeah, she was great. Don't mean to say she was terrible. She was awesome. Of course, yeah, just very different. Another thing I love is that they used Midnight with the Stars and You again. I love Old 20s Swing. Is that like the ballroom song? I don't know. It kind of sounds like it. I love old music. I think in the original Shining book, the hotel burns down, and that's why they did that in this movie. Okay, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It really doesn't make much sense why they didn't, why nobody seemed to check out the building all that time later. Favorite gunfight? Well, you should watch Heat. Probably has the greatest shootout in cinema history. Dang. I've heard that. I've heard that Heat's a hit. I don't know. I think for me, there was just so much impact to this gunfight here. But you know what, Gord King? Maybe you're right. This had a big impact on me. I think it was kind of just like the lead up to it at a younger age. It just kind of hit. Berserk is an anime as well, adapted from a manga series. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really an anime guy. It's not really my thing. Are you an anime, Luke?
No.
No.
Not really. Oh. I mean, I've always tried, but I mean, not really.
Yeah, not really my thing. I'll send him the 97 anime. All right, Proctafile, I got you. Oh, look at this. Good reminder. Don't forget to like the video, folks. I appreciate that, Proctafile. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Heat in many ways inspired The Dark Knight. Oh, okay. Huh. Best gunfight. That's a tough one. And I know nobody's going to agree with me, but you know what? That's my opinion. We all have different thoughts and feelings about this, right? Well, Luke, why don't you give us your final thoughts? Do you recommend Dr. Sleep to the people, to our audience?
I definitely recommend it to people who have not even seen or haven't seen The Shining. You'll get the same look on it, regardless whether you've seen it or not, because it doesn't really have anything to do with The Shining. It's a whole new character, really. I know he was, his character when he was 5 years old in The Shining, but he's grown up. He's an adult now. He has a whole new personality, and you see way more of The Shining. You see the whole concept of The Shining, along with the villains who have had The Shining for centuries, which is crazy. So yeah, you'll definitely tell that it's a whole different genre. I wouldn't call it a horror movie. Not at all, really.
Yeah, it's not really horror.
No, it's not horror. Not even The Shining, really. I mean, more of The Shining, yes, but sci-fi. It's big time sci-fi.
What would you call that, though? Because it's like, it has really disturbing elements to it. I wouldn't even say thriller is the right word. I don't know. Like, it's eerie. I don't know. I think horror is an aspect of it, but it's so light. Yeah, I wonder what does Google say? Like, what does Google describe this as? Let me check real quick. Dr. Sleep. Dr. Sleep is a horror fantasy. Oh, that's a weird title for it. Okay. All right. Well, as for me, I do recommend Dr. Sleep. There's like maybe one or two scenes you got to skip, but it's great. Really solid movie. It was a real pleasure revisiting this. I missed seeing this. It's sort of an odd nostalgic film for me, not because of like the way it pulls from its past, but just from my, watching this when it was in theaters back in 2019, because it's crazy to think that was 6 years ago. Isn't that insane? 6 years ago was 2019.
Time flies in adulthood.
Man, for real. So, pretty crazy just how fast that went. And this was, the year before movies pretty much died. So this had some competency to it. And I think you'll enjoy it if you go in to see it, knowing it's more of a sci-fi fantasy than anything else. And if you're, Ewan McGregor fan, Rebecca Ferguson fan, you'll definitely be happy with how this turns out. So definitely check it out on my end. Real quick to answer, Gord King, what is a 10 out of 10 movie for you guys? Why don't you start, Luke?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put 2.
Captain America: Brave New World.
Oh no. Okay, I want to put it there. 2 movies put together. I'm gonna put 1 and 2. Rocky 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wonderful, so motivating and so inspiring. He's made me who I am today when it comes to my fitness goals and everything, like running and everything. I think about him, play his music all the time. Just love it. Just love Rocky.
Yeah,
Rocky
I know.
1 and
It's
2.
like one.
Very special
You
to me.
need both of them. Not just Rocky 1.
Because like he finishes what he started in Rocky 1. Very special to me. Very, very special.
What did you like better, 1 or 2?
Well, it's crazy because I used to love 2 way better, but I always do a thing before my marathon. I always watch Rocky 1 and 2 the night before. It just really helps me out. But I'd say 1 now because I always get teary eyed in the end of the first and second one. Just so powerful, like when he does all that being a nobody, and then, all that heart. Rocky 4, yes, I brown eyes. Rocky, that is what I feel right now. To my new marathon because revenge and everything. Love that movie. But Jackson, sorry, you go ahead.
No, that's good. I like hearing that. That's I don't know which one I like more, 1 or 2. My 10 out of 10 movie. I don't think there's that many 10 out of 10s. I think The Thing is 10 out of 10. I think Signs, M. Night Shyamalan's The Signs is 10 out of 10. I think Lawrence of Arabia is 10 out of 10. What's another one? Those are probably my big ones. I don't really want to give many others a 10 out of 10. I think there's a lot of 9.5s and 9.8s, but those are my 10. Signs, I think that film just has so much heart. It's an inspiring story with like real meaning and it's just pure meat. It's not it doesn't have a bunch of colorful feathers. It's not overly ambitious or not. It's just a simple story that's just perfectly implemented. Pure entertainment. Great content. I love it. Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix, they're the perfect brother pair in a film. So definitely check that one out. I think we got a few more chats, and then we'll call it a quits for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm pretty partial to Gifted and As Good as It Gets. I haven't seen either of those. Have you seen those? Gifted sounds familiar. No, I guess not. Luke, what's your favorite Rocky song? War?
My favorite Rocky song is The Final Bell. Like
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Love it. Beautiful.
That's a classic.
And Going to Distance.
Rocky 1 and 2 are pretty awesome. Everybody likes Rocky. Amadeus is my GOAT film. I don't know who's in that one. Yes, Brown Eyes. Yeah, what's that? Amadeus. That sounds familiar. Signs. Yes, I love Signs. You better not hate on Signs.
First great alien.
Oh no. Oh dear. If you like Signs or Interstellar, don't listen to me break them down because I might spoil them. You're not spoiling. You're not spoiling nothing for me, Gord King. I love Signs. Nobody's ruining my enjoyment of Signs. Nobody. Not even you, man. I love Signs. It's a special place in my heart. Now, Interstellar, you can trash all day. I could care less about Interstellar. The Princess Bride and Interstellar are my 10 out of 10s. Oh, Princess Bride. Not bad. I don't know about Interstellar. That's just not something I've ever been into.
It confuses me.
Oh, Gord King. I like Signs and Interstellar, but let's just say they have issues. I don't know what issues Signs has. Interstellar. Actually, I don't really know what issues either of them has. I think it's just an entertainment value for me.
Can I say one thing about Interstellar?
Yes.
I need somebody to explain this to me. The ending of Interstellar. I don't even know his name. The main character, when he visits his daughter, his elderly daughter, he finally comes back to her, and they're playing baseball outside, and then the ball just goes up like they're on a whole different planet. What? Can somebody explain that right before, like, if you can do it quick enough before Jackson ends the stream? I haven't really watched it all the way through, but I'm too lazy to look it up. and I don't know what to look up to find that answer. But Jackson, keep talking and do the outro while hopefully somebody's.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I don't know about Interstellar. That's just never been my thing. But you could just look that up too.
I don't
um,
know what to look it up.
As for the stream, though, thank you everybody for joining us. I hope that you check out Dr. Sleep if you haven't yet already. I hope that maybe we either encouraged you or dissuaded you from seeing this. That is up to you. And I think it's definitely something worth checking out. Good stuff. And you likely won't be disappointed. Just don't go in with real high expectations. But if you had a good time with us today, which I really hope you did, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel as well as Luke's channel here, Galliardo. Support our friend here at the channel. And stay tuned for this Thursday. This Thursday, Luke and me are joining yet again for a big night. Do you want to tell everybody what we're doing Thursday night, Luke?
We are going to the theaters to watch the Minecraft movie, and then we will be streaming it right after. I'm excited for this one. I love Minecraft. I've always loved Minecraft. I don't know how that's going to portray my view of the. It's gonna be different, It's gonna be different. I'm already going in knowing it's gonna be different, and that's why I'm excited because I'm not gonna be let down. I don't think. But I'm gonna have a lot to say, and I know Jackson will too.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, join us. I just double checked. It's at 9:45 this Thursday night, 9:45 p.m. Check in with us. We're going to give our immediate reaction, discussion, and analysis for the new Minecraft movie to see if it's a cringe or a win. So be sure to check that out. And thank you all very much for watching. As always, I appreciate all the time you spent with me. I wish you well, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brian.